The saloon in Amber Creek is packed, thick with the smell of cigar smoke and cheap whiskey. Oil lamps sway gently overhead, casting long, restless shadows across the worn wooden tables. In the darkest corner, a woman sits alone, slowly sipping her drink while staring into the glass, as if it holds every answer she's ever searched for. She wears a simple dark blue dress, carefully mended and impeccably clean. It isn't meant to impress anyone. It's armor. No one approaches her. No one even lets their eyes linger on her for more than a second. Suddenly the saloon doors burst open. A gust of dusty wind sweeps inside, carrying the grit of the trail with it. A stranger steps through the doorway, wearing a weathered leather coat faded by years beneath the western sun. He stops in the center of the room, silently studying every face, every table, every possible exit. Then his eyes find her, the woman sitting alone in the shadows. A few men exchange knowing glances, waiting to see what the newcomer is foolish enough to do. Ignoring every whisper in the room, he walks straight toward her, step after steady step. When he reaches her table, he removes his hat with quiet respect. "You're the most beautiful woman in this saloon. Why are you sitting here all alone?" For the first time, she looks up. She doesn't smile. She doesn't lower her eyes. She doesn't flinch. Someone at the bar holds his breath, expecting her to send the stranger away, just as she always does. Instead, her voice comes calm, firm, and unwavering. "Then choose me." For a heartbeat, the piano falls silent. Every soul inside the saloon hears her answer. The stranger slowly pulls out the chair across from her and sits down without breaking eye contact. No one in Amber Creek had chosen to sit beside Rose Hale in more than a year. Amber Creek survives on the endless flow of cattle drovers, hunters, merchants, and families traveling farther west. The town consists of a single dusty main street, a modest white church, and the saloon that stands at the center of nearly everything that happens there. The buildings are made of pale timber, bleached by relentless summers beneath the unforgiving frontier sun. The saloon once belonged to Rose's father, a respected businessman who died of fever during the previous winter. Rose inherited the business. Unfortunately, she inherited something else as well, a rumor, one that follows her every single day. People claim her husband, Thomas Hale, died after being poisoned by his own wife. No evidence has ever supported the accusation. None has ever been needed. The lie began with an envious neighbor and spread through the town like wildfire across dry prairie grass. In a place as small and suspicious as Amber Creek, rumors rarely require proof. Families avoid meeting her eyes whenever they pass her on the street. Women quietly cross to the opposite sidewalk. Children repeat their parents' whispers without understanding the cruelty behind the words. Every night, Rose runs the saloon alone. She counts coins beneath the dim glow of an oil lamp until long after midnight. She's learned to smile politely at her customers while pretending not to hear the conversations that stop the moment she walks past. When the last customer leaves, she locks the front door, extinguishes every lamp, and cries quietly enough that no one outside can hear. Jonas Cole is a bounty hunter. Every few months, he leaves one town behind and rides into another. He travels alone with a tired horse and a rifle that is always clean, loaded, and ready. He never stays anywhere long enough to learn anyone's history. He arrived in Amber Creek while tracking a fugitive named Silas Marrow. The wanted poster offered only a few words: dangerous, deceptive, fugitive for 2 months. When Jonas stepped into the saloon that evening, he had no idea the town was hiding a mystery far greater than the man he had been hired to capture. He also had no way of knowing that this single night would change the course of both their lives forever. The man who works hardest to keep the rumors alive is Reverend Amos Blackwell. Years earlier, he lost a bitter land dispute against Rose's father. He never forgave the humiliation. Every Sunday, without ever mentioning Rose by name, he preaches about the hidden sins living among us. The congregation listens. They nod. Then they return home carrying just a little more suspicion than they brought to church. Sheriff Walt Doggett is an aging lawman only a few years away from retirement. He's tired. Conflict no longer interests him. He finds it easier to let rumors spread unchecked than to challenge either the Reverend or the town's most influential families. It is into this fragile balance, held together by fear, silence, and suspicion, that Jonas Cole has just arrived. The following Sunday, Reverend Amos Blackwell steps into the pulpit with more confidence than ever before. The church is full. Every pew is occupied. No one notices Jonas standing quietly near the back. The Reverend slowly scans the congregation before speaking. This town has lived beside hidden sin for far too long. His voice echoes through the sanctuary. The Lord is patient, but his justice always arrives. This time, he doesn't hide behind vague warnings. He looks directly toward the front doors. The widow will finally face God's judgment. A murmur of agreement ripples through the congregation. Outside, Rose hears every word through the church's open windows. She stands alone across the street, saying nothing. Jonas has heard enough. He walks through the center aisle until he stands directly before the pulpit. The entire church falls silent. No one moves. No one dares interrupt. Jonas removes his hat. His voice remains calm. "You preach about justice," he pauses, "but in more than a year, you never asked for a single piece of evidence." The silence that follows feels different from every silence Amber Creek has known. It isn't fear. It isn't hatred. It's doubt. For the first time, people begin looking at one another instead of nodding in agreement. Questions begin replacing certainty, and Reverend Blackwell sees it happen. Jonas walks back outside. He reaches into his pocket and unfolds the old photograph of his wife and son. For a long moment, he simply stares at it. He remembers the night they died. He remembers arriving too late. He remembers wishing someone, anyone, had stood up for the innocent before it was too late. He slowly folds the photograph again. No reward is worth standing by while an innocent person pays the price alone. The decision is finally made. That afternoon, Jonas rides straight to the sheriff's office. Without saying a word, he lays everything on Doggett's desk. Thomas's medical records, the doctor's letters, the forged document Silas created, the fraudulent land deeds found in Silas's saddlebag, the records from other towns, every piece of evidence, one by one. Sheriff Doggett studies each page carefully. The room remains silent except for the sound of paper turning. When he finally looks up, his expression has changed. "You've just handed me enough to reopen the entire case." Jonas nods. "I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm asking you to let Rose speak before you judge her." The sheriff leans back in his chair. For the first time in more than a year, he realizes how badly the town may have failed her. Word spreads quickly. Some townspeople refuse to believe it. Others begin questioning everything they've accepted as truth. A rancher who once avoided Rose lowers his head in shame. A woman remembers the meals Rose brought her family during a harsh winter. Another remembers Rose sitting beside a sick child through the night. Small memories begin resurfacing. Acts of kindness no rumor had managed to erase. Slowly, the town starts seeing Rose instead of the story they invented about her. Sheriff Doggett announces that the investigation will be reopened immediately, but he adds one condition. "I need undeniable proof before sundown. If we're going to clear Rose's name, it has to end today." Jonas understands. Time is running out. Silas understands it too. Cornered by the evidence closing in around him, panic begins replacing confidence. He knows that once the truth comes out, he'll lose everything. The land, the inheritance, his freedom. Desperate men make dangerous decisions. Silas decides that if he can't win, he'll make sure no one else does either. Late that afternoon, he disappears from town. Only one person realizes where he's headed. Jonas. He spurs his horse into a gallop, straight toward the saloon. The saloon stands eerily quiet as the sun sinks toward the horizon. The scorched porch still bears the blackened scars of the previous night's fire. The smell of smoke lingers in the warm evening air. Inside, Rose is alone. She's gathering the few belongings she believes she may never see again. The letters, the doctor's records, Thomas's wedding ring. She places each item carefully into a small wooden box. Not because she's giving up, because she's preparing for whatever comes next. The front door suddenly slams open. Silas Marrow steps inside. A revolver gleams in his hand. He closes the door behind him, slowly, deliberately. His eyes never leave Rose. "You've made this a lot harder than it needed to be." His voice is calm, almost friendly, which somehow makes it even more frightening. He tosses a folded document onto one of the tables. "Sign it." Rose doesn't even look at it. "I'll never sign away what's mine." Silas sighs, as stubborn as ever. He raises the revolver. "You don't understand. If I walk out of here without those papers, I walk out with nothing." Rose meets his eyes without flinching. "Then you'll finally know what it feels like." The sound of hurried footsteps echoes across the wooden sidewalk outside. The saloon door swings open once more. Jonas steps inside. His revolver remains holstered. His hands are visible, open. He isn't looking for a gunfight, not yet. "You don't have to do this, Silas." Silas lets out a bitter laugh. "Oh, I absolutely do." The whole town finally believes her. They've stopped believing me. Jonas takes another slow step forward. "The sheriff has your forged letter. He has the land deeds. He has every record from the towns you cheated before you came here." Silas's face changes, just for an instant, long enough for Jonas to know the words have landed. "It's over." Silas tightens his grip on the revolver. "No. It ends when I say it ends." Without warning, Rose shoves the heavy oak table between them. The furniture crashes across the floor. Silas stumbles backward, only for a second. But sometimes, 1 second is enough. Jonas lunges forward. The revolver fires. The deafening blast echoes through the saloon. A window explodes. Glass scatters across the floor. The bullet misses. Jonas slams into Silas before he can fire again. The two men crash into the floorboards. The revolver skids across the room. Silas throws wild punches, desperate to break free. Jonas answers with determination instead of anger. This fight isn't about revenge. It's about ending the lie. Outside, the gunshot has already drawn half the town. Sheriff Doggett races toward the saloon with 2 deputies close behind. Several townspeople follow. The front door bursts open. They find Jonas struggling with Silas on the floor. Rose stands against the wall, shaken but unharmed. Silas twists violently, breaking loose for a split second. He bolts toward the back door, but in his panic, his boot catches on the scattered papers covering the floor. The forged letter, the stolen deeds, the documents he had been so desperate to protect. He crashes hard. Before he can stand again, Jonas is on him, holding him firmly to the floor. Seconds later, Sheriff Doggett snaps a pair of handcuffs around Silas's wrists. "It's over." Silas keeps shouting, denying everything, calling everyone liars, but his voice no longer carries any weight. The evidence speaks far louder than he ever can. By now, nearly the entire town has gathered outside the saloon. No one whispers. No one looks away. For the first time in more than a year, people look directly at Rose, not with suspicion, not with fear, but with shame. Sheriff Doggett steps onto the porch. He removes his hat. Then, in front of everyone gathered on Main Street, he speaks clearly enough for the entire town to hear. "Rose Hale, you are hereby cleared of every accusation made against you. You have committed no crime. The law recognizes your innocence." The words hang in the evening air. No applause follows, only silence, the kind of silence that comes when people are forced to face the truth. Several townsfolk lower their heads, others quietly wipe away tears. No one tries to justify what happened. There are no excuses left to make. Rose doesn't cry. Not there. Not in front of the crowd. She simply nods once. As people slowly drift away into the gathering dusk, she remains seated on the burned front steps of her saloon. Only after the street is empty, only after the last footsteps fade into the distance, do the tears finally come. Not tears of defeat, tears of release, tears she'd been holding back for more than a year. Jonas quietly sits beside her. He doesn't offer advice. He doesn't try to fill the silence. He simply reaches over and takes her hand. This time, she doesn't have to face the truth alone. A month later, the saloon opens its doors once again. The fire damage is gone. Fresh timber replaces the charred boards. The windows shine beneath the afternoon sun. Above the entrance hangs a brand new hand-painted sign. Jonas made it himself. Simple, straight, built to last. Long before the doors open, people begin gathering outside. Families, ranchers, travelers, neighbors. Many carry baskets of food, others bring flowers, some arrive with tools, offering to help with anything that still needs fixing. A few bring something even more difficult: apologies. Not because anyone demanded them, because silence is no longer enough. One by one they approach Rose. Some speak only a few words. "I was wrong. I'm sorry. I should have listened." Others can't find the courage to speak at all. Instead, they simply remove their hats as they pass her. For Rose, that's enough. Forgiveness doesn't erase the past, but it allows the future to begin. Business slowly returns, not overnight. Trust never does. But little by little, Amber Creek starts feeling different. The whispers disappear. The laughter returns. People once again gather around the poker tables late into the evening. The piano plays every night. Children run freely along Main Street. And for the first time in over a year, Rose no longer eats alone. A few weeks later, she finally does something she'd dreamed about for years. She buys the small boarding house on the corner near the church. The building isn't much to look at. The roof leaks. Several windows need replacing. The porch leans ever so slightly. But Rose doesn't see the flaws. She sees possibilities. When the work is finished, she hangs a modest wooden sign above the front door. Creekside Inn, exactly the name she'd whispered to herself on countless lonely nights. Exactly the dream she'd refused to surrender. Jonas receives the bounty for capturing Silas Marrow. It's a respectable sum, enough to disappear once again, enough to start over somewhere far away, the way he'd done so many times before. Instead, he hands every dollar to Rose. "For the renovations." She looks at him in disbelief. "You earned this." He smiles. "So did you." Together, they rebuild the inn. One board, one wall, one room at a time. One evening, after another long day's work, Jonas walks into the parlor carrying the old photograph, the one he'd hidden inside his vest for years. He places it inside a wooden frame. His wife, his son, their smiles frozen in time. He sets the frame on the mantel above the fireplace. Rose quietly watches from across the room. A few moments later, she joins him. In her hands is another photograph, one taken during the reopening of the saloon. She and Jonas stand side by side beneath the new sign, both smiling. She places it beside the first frame. The two photographs remain together. Neither replaces the other. The past isn't erased. The future simply grows beside it. For the first time in many years, Jonas no longer feels guilty for remembering, and no longer feels guilty for moving forward. Rose no longer hides her books upstairs. Now, every evening after supper, she reads aloud in the parlor. Jonas listens from his favorite chair. He'd never cared much for books before. Now, he waits impatiently for the next chapter. Sometimes he interrupts to ask questions. Sometimes he laughs. Sometimes they simply sit together in comfortable silence after the story ends. The loneliness that once filled the house has quietly slipped away. Neither of them notices exactly when. Autumn arrives. Golden leaves drift across Main Street. The air grows cooler. The afternoon sun hangs lower in the sky. One peaceful afternoon, the entire town watches something unexpected unfold. Jonas leads Rose to the middle of Main Street. The same street where people once crossed to avoid her. The same street where whispers once followed every step she took. He stops, removes his hat, then slowly lowers himself onto one knee. The whole town falls silent. A familiar smile crosses his face. He looks up at her. "You're the most beautiful woman in this town." He pauses, his eyes never leaving hers. "Will you choose me too?" Rose's eyes fill with tears. This time, she smiles before answering. "I already did." Cheers erupt from every direction. The applause echoes all the way down Main Street. Children laugh, neighbors embrace. Even people who once believed the cruelest rumors clap the loudest. Not because they're celebrating themselves, because they're celebrating the truth. Reverend Amos Blackwell never attends the reopening. Pride keeps him away. A few days later, however, a sealed envelope arrives at the inn. It was delivered by his daughter. Inside is a short handwritten letter. "Rose, I allowed resentment to become righteousness. I judged before I sought the truth. For that, I ask your forgiveness. Amos Blackwell." Rose reads the letter only once. Then she folds it carefully. She places it inside the same drawer that holds Thomas's letters, not out of bitterness, not out of forgiveness alone, but because she has learned something. Every truth deserves to be remembered, even the painful ones. By the end of the year, Sheriff Walt Doggett retires. Before leaving office, he addresses the town one final time. "I spent too many years keeping the peace, when I should have been protecting justice." Amber Creek elects a younger sheriff, one determined never to mistake rumors for evidence. Silas Marrow is transferred by train to stand trial in the territories where his crimes began. Fraud, forgery, extortion, arson, kidnapping. The list is long. As the train disappears beyond the horizon, no one in Amber Creek ever speaks his name again. Life slowly settles into something beautifully ordinary. Travelers stop at the saloon, families stay at Creekside Inn. Evenings are filled with music, laughter, and stories. Exactly as Rose once imagined, only now she never has to imagine them alone. The camera slowly pulls away. The setting sun bathes Amber Creek in warm golden light. The new saloon sign glows softly beneath the evening sky. Across the street, the lights of Creekside Inn begin to shine. People come and go, children laugh, horses wander quietly along the hitching posts. Life moves forward, as it always does, but some stories leave a town forever changed. Amber Creek still has its secrets, still has its scars, only now no one whispers this ending anymore. They tell it proudly, as a reminder that the truth may arrive late, but when it finally does, it changes everything.